We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good morning and welcome to the first show of 2012, the first show of Free Association Radio and the first show of this segment of Free Association Radio known as Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix, and Happy New Year. Hello, Gate 7. Hello, Erica. Hello, Janet. Everybody in the chat room. Thank you for showing up. I just put up a post on Ron Paul yesterday and was looking at his rectified chart. Ron is one of these, it's really fascinating. A lot of times when you go to search for information on would-be presidential candidates, as far as their birth time, not always forthcoming. Barack Obama obviously being the first person that comes to mind, but Sarah Palin has also had some issues around her birth time, birth date, birth certificate. John McCain, also major issues around that for him as well. Excuse me. So it's not always easy to get info on folks in positions of power, authority, prestige, political office, position, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ron Paul might be due to the fact that A, he's perhaps a very private person, or B, that he's an older candidate born in 1935, and perhaps there is a lack of information based on his birth time, although I'm not sure that that's really the case. However, when you look at the rectified chart, this is a time in a chart that I found through Bob Marks's site, and there's an astrologer by the name of Granny Miller who came upon the rectified time of 7:45 a.m. And I looked at it, and you know what? It felt right. Gave Ron Paul Virgo rising, and that felt right. So what we have here, especially with the Virgo rising on the rectified chart, is Ron Paul's sun, his Leo sun, is in the 12th house, which means that his birth, literally, his sun is hidden from us. Hence the lack of a birth time. Also, the real identity of Ron Paul can also be hidden from us as well. So I just put the post up yesterday. I've had a couple comments, and I got this. I just got this comment recently. It's a very funny comment. It says it's from Dame Twanky, also known as Joachim Fanker or Joachim F. Anchor. Sorry, I won't give you your email address, Joachim. But the comment is, a diamond is only worth its setting, greedy old pedophiles and self-salting slugs. Really? What the hell does that mean? A diamond is only worth its setting, greedy old pedophiles and self-salting slugs. Really? Dame Twanky, if you're listening, which I doubt that you are, please call in to clarify that comment. Greedy old pedophiles. Is Ron Paul a greedy old pedophile? I don't think so. Is he greedy? I don't think so. Is he old? Certainly he's old. What's interesting about Ron Paul is he was born in 1935 with Pluto in Cancer at 28 degrees, which is the exact opposite of the U.S. Pluto in Capricorn. He's the son of Depression-era parents. It was my father. Ron Paul was born 19 days after my father. My father would have been Ron Paul's contemporary. So I know what it's like to grow up with parents from that era. The parents didn't have very much. And that's clearly visible with Pluto and Cancer. It's about transforming home. It's about transforming values. And the Pluto and Cancer generation they're responsible for basically creating the bulk of the 20th century. They're not the baby boomers. They're pre-baby boom. These are people born between 1935 and 1945. Actually, it's about 1930 to 1945. So it's a big swath there. By 1945, Pluto had moved into Leo. And that's when you start to get the boom effect. By 1946, which is generally considered the first year of the baby boom, it is really on. I've been looking at the impact of Pluto cross-generationally or trans-generationally. And it's a fascinating, signature for each generation. And, I'm working on this thing right now with this book, soon to be a movie called The Hunger Games. And it's a post I'm working on about how the Hunger Games represents the Pluto and Sagittarius generation, okay? And we see these books or novels or stories or modern myths, and we see how they actually influence people generationally based on Pluto. And I'm working with a pattern and a theme here. The Pluto and Sagittarius generation is a very athletic generation. They're very into sports and body awareness, body activity, but they're also very philosophical and ideological generation. Very different than Pluto in Scorpio. Very, very different. I'll give you an example. One of the first encounters I had with Pluto in Sag child was my friend Stephen Kent's daughter, who I babysat for a while, and just every now and then. From a very young age, like 5 or 6 years old. She's in high school now, which is amazing, mind-blowing. And I watched her grow up. And one of the things that she did was she decided on her own, again, in a culture where it's really important on some level to conform so that your friends like you, so that you're popular, so that you're not considered a social pariah. Part of that ritual is liking the same things that other kids like, whether it's clothes, whether it's TV shows, whether it's movies, whether it's pop culture icons, whether it's music. There is a set of values and codes that each generation agrees upon in order to get along and like one another. Cultural ciphers. But for her, what was really fascinating is that here there's a generation that's being, at that time, essentially spawned on Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber. You know the drill. You know who the artists are. She's listening to country and western music, and her father is a DJ for KPFA. And he plays the most sophisticated palette of world music on the planet. her mother listens to people like, Sarah McLachlan and Patty Griffin, and, she's into this, Amy Mann, Suzanne Vega, the whole singer-songwriter thing. And the daughter's listening to, Travis Tritt and Trisha, Yearwood, or whatever her name is. So this is a Pluto and Sag kind of thing. Like, they're going to do their own thing in their own way, regardless of what I think the social condition will demand of them. It's a very interesting generation. And it's an ideological generation in some ways as well. And I've shared this story before with my kid, who is at the back end of Pluto and Sag. He was born with Pluto and Sag, I think, at 23 degrees. His Pluto's right on top of my Jupiter. And, we're trying this again. He's 5 years old. We're driving down the street, and he says to me that he hates graffiti. So he doesn't like graffiti. Well, why? He says, I think it's ugly. Well, that's interesting. And then he says that he thinks that graffiti is done by lazy people. And again, I have no idea where this came from, because I've never ever connected the dots. But that's the dot that he got. That's the dot that he made. It's like, wow, that's really interesting. So there is going to be kind of a conservative tilt to the Pluto in Sagittarius generation. And but again, it's an ideological, philosophical, outdoors, ideal-driven generation. Very, very different than Pluto and Scorpio. Pluto and Scorpio, their generation is all about fuck you, have another helping of I don't give a fuck, middle finger. That's their thing. That's what they're all about. They want to get drunk. They want to get laid. And they don't want to kiss. They don't want to have any kind of bonds of intimacy. That's their. And I'm not denigrating it. I'm not judging it. I think that they grew up in very challenging times. These are kids that came of age during 9/11. When their bullshit meter is on red alert, they're having to listen to the company tale about 9/11. How do you think that's affected them? How do you think on some subconscious level they view adults around them who were not able to look them in the eye, and if not tell them the truth, at least explain the possibility of other potential scenarios around 9/11. They have no respect. They have no respect for anybody over 30. None. Zero. And they've seen the impact of the banking industry, the financial service industry, completely sell them out and sell most of the rest of the world out. Very cynical generation. Extremely cynical. What's interesting is, again, I'm going to get back to the Hunger Games. I'm going to circle back to this. We're going to look at some other pieces related to the various generations of Pluto and literature that shaped their lives. But one of the things that we're looking at here is if you start with, let's just start with Pluto in Cancer, okay? You have Pluto in Cancer, and it is really the most fundamental kind of starting point. It's about home. It's really about home. It's about, the nuclear family. That is Pluto in Cancer. It's about transforming the nuclear family into this, the nuclear family is different from, say, the farm family. The nuclear family is it's like a shrunken down model of the family that was needed in order to carry out the manifest destiny and the expansionist vision of the United States. That family consisted of 8, 9 people. Why? Because there's a good chance that 2 of those people would die before they reached 30. So you had to have numbers. It was a numbers game. But as we moved into the 20th century, that whole concept began to become truncated, and therefore we have the nuclear family of the husband, the wife, and the 2 kids. That's Pluto in Cancer. The other part around Pluto in Cancer that really is a big deal is property ownership. Huge. More people began to own property and homes during Pluto in Cancer than any other time in the history of the world. Think about that for a moment. There was more private land ownership in that generation than any other generation ever. That's Pluto in Cancer. So these are the things that they are dealing. They are dealing with really the root, the stuff that becomes the civilization or the culture that we're inhabiting now. But it's very fundamental. It's very personal. It's about the family. Let's go out one more sign. Pluto and Leo, the baby boomer generation. They've taken essentially the foundation of Pluto and Cancer and they're building on it. Like, okay, we've got the home thing down, at least culturally, collectively. The home front is secured. Now let's crawl out of the crib and look around and play. Let's play. Let's flex our creative muscles. There's lots of us. We have a lot of expendable income, more discretionary income than any other generation prior and maybe even since, by the way. They've got it. They are like the chosen ones, Pluto and Leo, sun-kissed, the sun kings and queens of the American dream, the blessed ones, and they are exemplified by Bill Clinton, Leo, rising to the top and becoming president of the United States and completely dropping the ball and selling out their generation. That's Pluto and Leo. And I will tell you the book for Pluto and Leo and the movie for Pluto and Leo is The Wizard of Oz. It's The Wizard of Oz. Why? Because what happens in The Wizard of Oz is that through the magic, through the magical kingdom, and through the travails through the land of Oz, the emperor Leo, the king, is deposed. The curtain is pulled back on the emperor. That's what Pluto and Leo was all about. Taking down the man. If it was a college campus, it was the chancellor, it was the president of the campus, or it was the president of the United States. Ultimately, the Wizard of Oz was Richard Nixon. That's what their goal in life was to take down the wizard, the man behind the curtain, and they did. They did. That was their fairy tale. That was their astrological encoding for Pluto and Leo. Wizard of Oz. Hands down, bar none. Let's move forward. Pluto and Virgo. That's me. Thank you very much. Mopping up the crumbs left behind by the baby boomers. And now we go from here. We go from the home to sort of this, collective enfant terrible, Pluto and Leo, thrashing around, being creative. Life is a journey. Taking down the man. That's Pluto and Leo, right? Now here comes Pluto and Virgo. In the shadow of that giant, we are trying to understand sort of not just how we exercise our collective strength. Very different. We're here now because we've been told that we can do anything, be anything. We're raised, however, that we're raised in a very different specter. The whole, ecological matrix is implanted into us, right? It's about ecology, saving the earth. recycling. These are all, very important themes of Pluto and Virgo. In Pluto and Virgo, we see the influx of things like acupuncture and chiropractic and naturopathy and homeopathy. Again, these are all part of, who we are. It's part of our experience. We are here to understand the purpose of purpose. That's why we're here. We're here to serve, but we're here to figure out how do we make an impact on the world by living our lives as individuals and serving the higher good or the greater good or humanity in general. That's why we are here. What is the book and the theme and the movie for our time, for Pluto and Virgo? I'll tell you what it is. It's Mary Poppins. And why is it Mary Poppins? Well, because Mary Poppins is simply a pauper, right? She's a pauper. She comes from humble means, and yet, and she's a a nanny, but she's not just any nanny. No, she's not. She's a magical nanny. See, you can turn work into magic. You can be a nanny and you can be a witch. Look at Dick Van Dyke, the guy who's, courting her. What is he? He's a chimney sweep, but he's not just any ordinary chimney sweep. Oh, no. He's a wizard. He takes chimney sweeping into a whole nother direction. Hold on a second. What's going on here? I can't talk to these people. I have a show. Don't you know that? Can't interrupt my flow, man. Damn it. I just got to turn the phone off. All right. So that's Mary Poppins. That's our encoding. It's like, hey, you can have a shit job, and guess what? Man, you can be a wizard. You can be a witch. You can do so many things, even if your job doesn't really have a lot of meaning. Another sort of subset of that for our generation, or my generation, was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Again, it's all about work, right? You've got the Oompas, basically slave labor. I mean, let's get real about that. The Oompas are slave labor. And they're employed by, Willy Wonka, and they love what they do, those little Oompas. Don't they? They just love it, man. Oompa, oompa, oompa-ly-doo, right? And you get all these kids who are spoiled brats. But the one kid who has virtue, the one who does all the right things, who has character, well, guess what he gets? He gets to inherit the entire factory. You see, if you live right, you act right, you do the right thing, you're rewarded. Not even by your ability to work, but by your virtue. That's a very Pluto and Virgo kind of thing, virtue. Okay? So here we go. That's the encoding for Pluto and Virgo. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting, I think. Then we're moving out of that, we're moving into Pluto and Libra. And Pluto and Libra is the first generation where people are thinking about something other than themselves or why they're here. Pluto and Leo is just like, I'm here and I'm gonna have a good fucking time, and I don't care if you think I'm narcissistic. I know that I'm blessed, I'm creative, I'm the first child at the table. Let me just take off my clothes and declare that it's the dawn of a new day. Pluto and Virgo sits back, second child. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's, not really sure I'm digging that scene. I can't duplicate that. So let me figure out what my niche is, and let me do it in a way that's unique for me personally, right? Now, Pluto and Libra comes along, and it's about the other. It's the first generation where we're dealing with the other. What does that mean? So, where is that reflected in culture and in literature? And to some extent, I'm having kind of a challenging time finding the connection between a piece of literature or movie that really speaks to Pluto and Libra. This is kind of the void I've come into with the research. Pluto and Scorpio, that's easy. That is a total slam dunk. Total slam dunk. Pluto and Libra, a little bit different. I'm going to find a little bit of that, but it's all going to be about relationships, right? It will be relationship based. And the thing with relationships is that they are it's a very adult theme in some ways. This is the generation that was, having to come face to face with the largest divorce rate ever. Divorce, separation, you name it. Their generation went through it in spades. If their parents didn't get divorced, somebody's parents did that they knew and rocked their world. So, but this is the first generation that begins to sort of step off the ledge of the self. It's about thinking about the other. Okay. Now we're moving into Pluto and Scorpio. What's interesting about the Pluto and Scorpio generation is this is really the first transpersonal generation. This is the first generation that is dealing with the powers of the outer planets. Because Pluto in Libra it's not really an outer planet experience. Pluto in Scorpio is really an outer planet experience. Pluto in Libra is it's Pluto obviously, but it's Venus. It's our neighbor. It's just down the street. Pluto in Scorpio is way the hell out there. It's way down the block. In fact, it's on the other side of town. In fact, Pluto in Scorpio is on the dark side of town. Like Pluto and Scorpio, it's not a place you go after like 5 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night, right? Unless you know somebody. That's theoretically that generation. So what they feel is very different than, say, what Pluto and Leo. Pluto and Leo, by the way, you're going to have issues with Pluto and Scorpio. Big time issues, squares. So Uranus and Leo, myself, as well. So we've got our issues with this generation. But, they feel intensely. And not only do they feel intensely, they feel collectively. They are tapped into the collective in ways that other generations may not understand. And if you don't follow this generation, if you're not hip to what they're thinking, what they're feeling, you are remiss, because they're very important. There are a lot of them, and they are very aligned with their consciousness and their psyche, and their numbers are going to determine, in a lot of ways, the quality of lives for many of us. I mean, they will be moving into positions of power within 15 years. Now, thankfully, they're going to be going through their Saturn return, and unfortunately, their Saturn is going to hit their Pluto very quickly, starting next year, and that's going to be very intense for their generation. I mean, that's when the hangover begins to take hold, and there's also potential for a lot of death in that generation, perhaps through war. And we're not going to go there quite yet, but what is the material for that generation? Well, it's twofold. It's Harry Potter, and it's Twilight. Those two books, those two movies or series on HBO, those are the calling cards for Pluto and Scorpio. We're talking occult, we're talking magic, we're talking dark occult. This isn't like the twinkly fairy dust pitter-patter magic of Mary Poppins. No, we're talking demons. This is vampires, summoning creatures of the night. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Pokemon became very popular for children during the Pluto and Scorpio generation. It's still very popular, but that's when it came to consciousness. I remember this was in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. Pokemon. What is Pokemon? Pokemon is all about summoning demons. I mean, if you ever watch, and I watch Pokemon with my kids there are these little circles. So kids don't do anything with Pokemon. I mean, if you look at things like Bakugan, Pokemon, Beyblades, and you look at the cartoons and you look at the art, kids don't do anything in those shows or those mediums. They have everything else do everything for them. It's the spinning top, the spinning magical top that does battle with some other kid's spinning magical top. Or you've got these little demons that are summoned through Pokemon. I mean, if you look at Pokemon, you have circles, and you stand in circles, and the demons are created in circles. It is all Kabbalistic, Necronomicron magic translated into a game. That was the art form that Pluto and Scorpio kids were suckled on. That was their entertainment. And then they get Harry Potter, very dark, very occult, again, summoning demons, dealing with demons, and of course the sort of the necromantic world of Twilight. So that's their art form. It's very, very occult. Now we move forward to the Pluto and Sag kids, who again are dealing with collective energies. These are not individual energies. These generations are moving beyond the need and the scope for us to determine who we are. That's done. Pluto and Leo, Pluto and Virgo, to a lesser extent Pluto and Libra, these are the generations that have really tackled those things. These kids are beyond that. In a lot of ways, they know who they are. Now they got to figure out what they're going to do with it. Now they're going to figure out how they're going to impact culture collectively. And The Hunger Games is going to be the art form or the book or the movie that is not just predictive programming, but it's also the astrological cipher for these kids to be spoon-fed ideology and tap into their astrological programming. And The Hunger Games, if you're not aware of it, takes place in the future. There's been a nuclear war. Sound familiar? The United States no longer exists. There are 12 districts, and the districts comprise something called Panem, P-A-N-E-M, Panem. And it's a very cruel, totalitarian world, and the president of Panem is Emperor Snow, or President Snow, whatever his name is. Snow is the name. And each year, what happens is that from each of the districts, 2 young people are chosen, 1 male, 1 female, to literally fight to the death in something called the Hunger Games. And people from each district are forced to watch the Hunger Games as a reminder that they are controlled and that they can be traumatized at any moment. That's part of it. So what's interesting about the Hunger Games is that it is being printed and published and sent into schools. Scholastic Press is printing the Hunger Games. So this is what the Pluto and Sagittarius generation is being given. Now, you have to ask yourself, well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the cart or the horse? Is astrology dictating that this generation, which is philosophical, athletic, outdoorsy, right, adventurous, is astrology dictating the reality, or are the reality shapers tapping into astrology? Do they know that this generation has this encoding, in their charts? And are they creating art and promoting art based upon it? And have they been doing it for a long time? That's really the question. That's what I'm fascinated with. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. That's my next post. It's going to be on the site sometime this week after the newsletter. The newsletter will probably go out in a day or so, and I'm going to be dealing with predictions for 2012. And that'll be, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you want to get my predictions, go to my website, robertphoenix.com. You can check out my latest post on Ron Paul. By the way, I was right about the Iowa caucus. Part of what I'm going to be doing in 2012, by the way, is I'm going to be telling people I was right more. I hate to say it, but 2012 Iowa caucus, I was right. I called it. Romney, Santorum, Paul. Romney by 8 votes. If you believe that the caucus can be run in a fair fashion and that it even really matters, let's say you just buy into that belief system, well, that's a very disappointing win for Mitt Romney. Theoretically, he can't feel good about it. Unless, of course, there's a handshake deal going on in back rooms where they're saying, Mitt, look, we're just, we got to separate. We got to put a buffer between you and Ron Paul. Let's bring Santorum in, prop him up. Rick will get paid nicely. He'll get paid some sort of a, nice fee in the back end to be a consultant or a director at some institute somewhere where he can be a policy wonk, right? And then once they've, created the buffer between Paul and Romney, Santorum goes away. Santorum's voters jump ship and go to Romney, and that's how Romney runs the table and gets into the election. It's not going to be that easy because I think Ron Paul will run as an independent. I don't think he's going to go back and be a congressman again. I think this is all or nothing for Ron Paul. So whether or not he gets the Republican nomination, I'm not sure really matters. Ron Paul is not going to run again in 4 years. He won't do it. And maybe he's setting the table for his son Rand, perhaps, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. Anyway, I predicted it. Okay, so there are people that are waiting to talk, and I'll do some readings. It's the new year. We can look at charts for the coming year. The big news for 2012 astrologically, Jupiter moving forward, getting deeper into Taurus in the first part of 2012, creating some nice trines between Pluto and let's see, is it trining the Sun now? The Sun's moved behind it. No, nice trines to Pluto in the early part of 2012. It's already there now, but the first week or so here, first couple weeks up into February, nice Pluto Jupiter trine. You can make some real changes in your material surroundings as long as you focus. And when you have like a Pluto Jupiter trine, it's like the wind is really at your sails. But when you're sailing, you want to take advantage of that. You want to make sure that you're sailing in the most efficient fashion, that you're following the winds. You want to cover. You don't want to stop at an island along the way and search for buried treasure that isn't there. If you have a destination or destination goal in mind, you want to take advantage of that energy. And at the beginning of this year, with Pluto trining Jupiter, it's a great time to do that. Super time to do that. There's a Jupiter Mars trine. Mars will move backwards, and we're going to get the Jupiter Mars trine a little bit later. When Mars goes deeper into its retrograde in Virgo. Mars is in Virgo for quite a long time this year, which means that the Pluto and Virgo people don't waste this time. You may not get another chance with Pluto, conjuncting your natal, with Mars, transiting Mars conjuncting natal Pluto, you may not get another chance for a while to make such an intense impact on your own life and in the lives of people around you. Again, that's, people that were born in my generation up to about 71, so about like 1958, 59 to 1971. Take advantage of this Mars-Pluto conjunction throughout most of the year. And then when Mars goes direct this year, it goes fast. It goes from Virgo to Aquarius by the end of the year. That's how fast Mars is. Other highlights for this year, Saturn finally moves out of Libra and into Scorpio. Very intense time in August of this year. Super, super intense. Let me punch up the ephemeris. Hold on. Here we go. You just get this super intense time. Jupiter also moves into Gemini this year. Very chatty Gemini, in its opposite sign of Jupiter. The Saturn in Scorpio phase is going to be very intense, very interesting. That's going to be for almost close to 3 years. And really I think it's going to come through with Saturn in Scorpio is the intense focus on corruption and power. That's going to be a very, very, very tricky time in a lot of ways. Okay, so Saturn moves into Scorpio, October of 2012. That's the 6th of October. That's when it changes. My estimation, the most sensitive time in a sign is the last few degrees. So like from 28 to 29 degrees Libra, which would be the end of September, like the 19th of September through the 5th of October. That's a tricky time because that's when the intensity of the sign kind of really gets its you know, the power is fading, but it gets its last burst as well, one final hurrah in some ways. So, you know, what we've seen with Saturn and Libra, especially last year, starting with the theoretical Arab Spring, no matter what you think of it or how you thought it was engineered or manipulated or who was behind it, that was a very, very Saturn and Libra event, right? Equality, liberté, you know, democracy, even if it's faux democracy, Saturn and Libra. We saw that come here in this country, in the Occupy Wall Street movement. Again, doesn't matter, you know, who, maybe Soros was behind it. I wouldn't doubt it. The Tides Foundation, all that stuff. But at the same time, it was a very Saturn and Libra kind of event. It's like equality, fairness, 99%, 1%, trying to bring both of those things into balance with the scales. So I see the end of Saturn and Libra as being kind of a major final push, a big push in terms of the global protest movement, which, by the way, picks up huge steam in 2012. You know, there are a number of squares between Uranus and Pluto in 2012 that are really catalytic, potently catalytic. So the protest theme is going to be very, very big in 2012. Huge. It's not going to go away. Again, you have to ask yourself, is it real? Is it astroturf? Does it even matter what happens, you know, as a result of it? Well, we saw what happened as a result of it in a very orchestrated fashion, by the way, in 2011. It was like, okay, here's the top-down order. You know, we've allowed these occupy encampments to exist for a while. Now let's shut it down. And they were shut down summarily across the board, across the country at the same time. There was a universal top-down decision to do it all at once. Stamp it out. I see the transition between Saturn in Libra and Saturn in Scorpio as being a much bigger manifestation of that. I think Saturn in Scorpio comes in with a bang, and it's a heavy bang. It's like a thud. It's like a deep thud. What else is happening? We talked about Jupiter and Gemini. If you're an air sign, you've got to, you know, be thankful for that. Or if you have an abundance of air planets, Jupiter will spark your imagination, will spark your idea center. Jupiter and Gemini it's not always about getting things done. It's not a very get things done kind of alignment. Jupiter and Taurus is. And so, you know, it's like, you know, if you take care of, you know, basic fundamental issues like your health, your home, that's Jupiter and Taurus, and you're rewarded. Like, what did I do over the holidays? I cleaned out my house. I did major reorganization. I opened up the feng shui in my place. That's a very Jupiter and Taurus kind of deal. Jupiter and Gemini rewards ideas, communication. So those are really the big highlights. Neptune moves back into Pisces this year, moving out of the retrograde of Aquarius. It may seem like a minor thing, but it's not. Once it's in Pisces for good. So, you know, we are definitely dealing with Neptune and Pisces energy from here on out. Okay, let's talk about people. Let's talk to people. Let's talk with people. Let's find out. Let's talk. If you have any intentions for 2012, let's screw the what do you call it? I'm having a blank moment here. Screw the resolutions. If you have any affirmations or intentions or aspirations for 2012, let's talk about them, and let's see if we can work with that as a theme here. Let's go to our first caller who's been waiting patiently and chime in. Here we go. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, hi, hello?
Hi.
Oh, I didn't know if you were talking to me. Is this...
Yep. Thanks for waiting. What's your name?
My name is G, or Gigi they call me.
Hey, what's going on, Gigi?
Nothing much. I just was wondering, because I'm still new to this whole astrology thing, so I don't really get it too well, but I was wondering if you can tell me what you saw for me in career and relationship this year.
When's your birthday?
July 22nd, 1985.
So, do you have any, are there any goals or affirmations or aspirations that you'd like to set for yourself?
This year for goals, I would like to, learn a new language, actually. So that's one of my goals.
That's manageable, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I speak some, so I think it'll be easier for me to learn something different. I was thinking Mandarin. But...
Well, I hear the Rosetta Stone programs are the way to go.
Yeah, I was thinking I actually thought of that too. I heard a commercial for it, and I was like, I might try that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at your solar chart here, not your natal chart. July 22nd, by the way, is my good friend Chris Van Buren has that birthday. It's an interesting day to be born. You've got the master number of the 22. Which means people that are born on the 22nd of any month, they have a lot of responsibility in some ways to make the world a better place for other people. People that are born on the 22nd are imbued with a sense of mission in their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a purpose. I'm here for a reason. That's a 22nd birthday or 22 birthday, which is what you have. 29 degrees, Cancer is your sun. Let's see. You've got Venus in Gemini, which means that the transit of Jupiter in Gemini will impact you in your life. It'll impact you in 2012 and into 2013. Venus is the planet of relationships, right? And you've got it in Gemini. And people that have Venus in Gemini, they have challenges around relationships because it's funny because people that have Venus in Libra are in some ways always looking for other people to kind of balance out their lives. And that can be their physical lives as well. If you have Venus in Libra, maybe you're good at, cooking, but you hate doing the dishes. So you have somebody in your life doing dishes, right? That's kind of the Venus in Libra thing. They need other people to sort of complement their own lives. Venus in Gemini needs other people as well, but not in the same way. Venus in Gemini needs other people to kind of validate who they are. Reflecting back on a kind of a more etheric yet fundamental level. So you need relationships in your life, but you don't always need other people in your life. And that's kind of an interesting distinction with Venus in Gemini and Venus in Libra. Venus in Gemini also tends to get bored in relationship at times. They need people or people around them that are stimulating, that are idea-oriented, that are very into communication. And they also need people on a relationship level that are able to step back, observe, and analyze the relationship as it's evolving. That's really important to be able to talk about it, to be able to look at it, and to be able to kind of grow with it and from it. The other thing with Venus, I found with Venus and Gemini, is that especially when it comes to sexuality and physicality, they can get bored in the bedroom easily, and they need a partner who's kind of experimental and who's not afraid to try new things or, because there's one of the things about Gemini that I find interesting is that there's a lack of, in some ways, judgment around Gemini. Gemini will sit back and just observe things and learn from them. So, being kind of experimental or doing kind of unique or different things on an intimate basis, because Venus does involve intimacy, is something they will engage in. When I look at your chart, I see that you have Chiron also in Gemini, and it's conjuncting your Venus. So there would be at times in your life an inability in some ways to be vulnerable and reveal yourself in relationship. You know, that you might be the type of person, I wouldn't say that you would keep secrets, but there certainly would be aspects of yourself that you would be not inclined to share with other people, only because that there would be very fundamental issues of trust that you would have to evolve and develop. Well, the good news is that Jupiter will be conjuncting your Chiron this year, and will be conjuncting your Gemini, so that would allow you to have more of a sense of confidence and expand into those areas. So I think relationship could be a really interesting venue in your life in 2012. And
I haven't been in one in a while for some reason. I feel like I'm too picky. It's not that like I don't think I'm attractive. I'm just so picky and I haven't found. I feel like I don't know. I can't find the right thing. I feel like I'm kind of fickle. Like yes, I want this guy, but no. And I was just hoping to see maybe it's just in the stars, or I guess
that's
something
Chiron.
that's going on that I haven't been able to settle and find something.
That's Chiron conjuncting your Venus, and there would be. I wouldn't call it fickleness per se, but it would be about finding the right fit. You know, it's in the right fit because, you know, what you want really is somebody ultimately who I think can accept you in the totality of who you are. And
what would that be? I'm sorry. The question is what sign would that be that best fits me? July 22nd, isn't that the Cancer Leo cusp?
You're on the
and
Cancer
all that?
Leo cusp, and cusp people generally tend to have a hard time finding people. I'm serious about this. They have a hard time finding people that fit for them because they're straddling elements, and they're also at the anaretic degree, which is the 29th degree, and they want to move on to the next sign, but they still haven't really finished up business with the previous sign. But, you know, I look at your Venus, and you've got Venus in Gemini, you've got Chiron in Gemini. Is there anything else? No, that's it. So, you know, I mean, I would, if I were you, I would look to Venus. I'd look to maybe Mars to some extent. You've got a Mars, Sun.
I don't understand.
You have Mars and Cancer in your chart. So you have it at 27 degrees. You have a Mars-Sun conjunction, which is very powerful, by the way, extremely powerful. Gives you a lot of life force, a lot of vitality. But you also have Jupiter in Aquarius. So now we're bringing the element of air in again. And Jupiter trines your Venus, by the way. Very nice trine. So, you know, I would say if I had to pick maybe any sign, I would go quite possibly with maybe, believe it or not, kind of an early degree Libra, to be honest with you. You don't want to get something so far out that their sun would square your sun, but maybe an early degree Libra, maybe a Gemini. You know, I wouldn't be afraid of a Gemini.
Scorpio.
So you have Saturn in Scorpio, and Scorpio people would be in your life. You also have Pluto in Scorpio, by the way. So you're part of that generation I was talking about early in the show. You know, so Scorpio people would be in your life to teach you lessons around power, holding your power, dealing with power. You could have a long-term connection with a Scorpio. But if you were going to go the route of a Scorpio, I would try to find somebody who's a late Scorpio so that you'd have Sun trine Sun. Anybody born, say, around the I don't know, maybe between between the 19th and maybe the 21st of November. That's how specific I would be with that. So that might not be a bad fit for you, especially if they had planets in Libra that would kind of line up with, you know, trining your Jupiter or trining your Gemini. So let's boil it down for you. I would go with a late Scorpio, an early Libra, or a Gemini. Those would be my picks for you.
And you said this year is kind of open. Is it?
I think
to possibly bring a relationship in. Is it a good time for me?
Yeah, your big ticket item in 2012 is relationships, and it's because of the Jupiter conjunction with Venus and the Jupiter conjunction with Chiron. It's relationships. So you have
or bad? I guess it doesn't really say. Just
Like
I said, all last year and the year, half of the year before, almost 2 years, I haven't really been dating or anything. So it's kind of like hoping now maybe.
Well, Jupiter's the planet of expansion, right? I mean, this is what we, if you take anything away from this mini reading today, know that Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and theoretically, what it does is it expands the areas that it touches either directly or indirectly, vis-a-vis trines and sextiles, things like that. So if you have Jupiter passing over your Venus, which is the planet of relationship, what are we talking about? We're talking about expanding the potential of you having a relationship in your life in a very big way, bigger than in quite a while. If it's moving over your natal Chiron in your chart, it's also expanding your ability to communicate and share and allow other people to do the same in your life without threat of judgment, without threat of reprisal, without threat of denial. There's much better communication in store for you, both personally and interpersonally in 2012.
Gotcha. I have one more thing I just wanted to ask you, because I try reading those things online and kind of educating myself. But there's as a Scorpio earlier. There's a Scorpio 1984. I think it was mid to late Scorpio. I'm not sure what day his birthday. Maybe the 14th and between the 14th and the 19th. Would that be a good match for me right now?
14th of what? November?
November. The 14th and 19th of November, between that day and the year is 1984. Would that be a good match for me right now?
Well, let's find out for you.
And are they ready for a relationship?
So is this somebody you know?
Kind of. Interested in.
You're interested. Not bad. 14th and 19th?
Yeah, 1984.
Yeah, so you've got a Sun trine Sun, which is good. Let's see. It's tricky because, again, not knowing the date, there's a shift of Venus between Venus and Sagittarius and Venus in Capricorn. Let's say Venus is in Capricorn, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Mars shifts also during that time, goes from Capricorn to Aquarius, very different energies. But if it's Mars in Aquarius, wouldn't be bad. Again, you've got Jupiter in Aquarius, but it's a very early degree of Aquarius. I would say give it a go. I mean, why not? Especially with the Sun-Sun trine, you'll at least have a good shot at getting to know somebody at the personality level without too much in the way, right? I mean, so let's say, we just look at the personality, the Sun-Sun trine. He's water, you're water. You kind of flow together. So at least you could sit down, have a cup of coffee or a drink and a cocktail and begin the conversation. Some signs you don't even get that far. Like if you're squaring or opposing, you may not have that opportunity. You may not get to drill down to, Mercury or Venus or Mars or Pluto or Chiron. So at least Sun-Sun trine is a conversation starter. And so I would say, yeah, explore it and then see what's there.
Gotcha. But this is the year for me for relationships, so that's fun to know. I'm ready for that.
Absolutely.
So that's good.
Yeah, go make it happen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's how we do it. Let's get to our friend who's been patiently holding on the 901 line. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Who are you? Where are you calling from? What do you want to talk about?
Hi, Robert. This is Lenise.
Lenise, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
How you doing?
Excuse me. I'm good. I'm getting choked. I'm eating peanuts.
You're eating peanuts? Well, okay, you better take your time. We don't want you to choke to death on my show.
Excuse me.
That'd be a bad way to start the new year.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Yeah, I missed your show a couple of times. You come on is it Mondays and Wednesdays or Monday and Friday?
Well, so I'm on the air Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay.
And Wednesday is the astrology show. And Monday is I just kind of rant. And then Friday is usually the extended interview show.
Okay.
So that's when I bring on guests that are from all different walks of life and disciplines.
Yeah. The last reading that I got from you, I looked back and you answered a very, very vital and important question. And I would like to talk about that, but not this time because I have something to add to it. And I don't have my evidence ready, but it is awesome. It is, whoa, big. As I listened to in the archives, I said, oh my God. You gave me some very powerful information about my life, so I'd like to call back. Maybe Friday and talk about that.
You could. Friday may not be the best venue for it. You could certainly, if you want to talk about astrological stuff, I mean, this is really the place and the time for that. So you're welcome to talk about it today. If you want to call back next week and talk about it, that's fine too. There's no pressure here. It's whatever. Okay.
Well, I'll call back next Wednesday when I have
call back
everything
next
together because I'm listening now and kind of shopping around. And, I'm going to sit down and get my stuff together, and we'll talk about it on next Wednesday.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you back
ready
and let you listen, and wish you a Happy New Year, and we'll circle back next week. Okay?
Okay. I have another small request.
Okay.
I did not receive my chart.
Ooh. I sent it to you.
You did?
I did.
I missed it somehow.
Yeah, I did.
Well, maybe I can look back in the archives and find
look in
my
your
email.
spam, because sometimes stuff gets moved into spam. But in the meantime, I'll go back and I have all that stuff archived, and I'll just, as a matter of course, I'll resend it. But I sent it to you the day you ordered it.
Okay. All righty.
Okay, but I'll make sure.
Well, thanks a lot. Talk to you Wednesday.
Okay, there she goes. Our friend Lenise. Let me just put her on hold. She's muted. You there?
Hello?
Yeah, you're still there. There you go.
Okay. All right.
Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Lenise, I'm not off yet.
Okay, hold on. All right. How about now?
Hello?
You're still, this thing is not working for me.
Well, I'll put myself on mute. How about that?
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, we'll fix that.
Let's try that. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, hold on. There we go. How about now? Yeah. All right. I think we did it. Okay. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Sunshine. What's going on, man?
Hi. How you doing? How's your New Year's going for you?
It's interesting. Let's put it that way. I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to say this to everybody. Saturn is I'm Saturn's bitch right now. Saturn's sitting on top of my Venus in Libra, and it's all about responsibility, man. That's all I can say. What's going on with you?
Well, so far I've been successful with the career part. I did start school for November, but I didn't really like it. I didn't like it, but I actually changed the course, so I won't start till the 23rd. So I actually stopped it like around early December.
Okay.
But the other two important things for me just hasn't been working. Like, I've been trying to get I have 2 weeks ago with my job coach, but that whole 3 months I've been trying to call her. But so far I haven't really found a job. I haven't found any job. I did date one person, but that hasn't really come through, but only one time. That was pretty much it. I think what's making me better is the career part, but those other two, it just seems to be, I guess, slowing.
Well, I tell you, when we look at, and it's hard because, we live in these challenging economic times, and but if you can nail down, at the very least, your ability to take care of yourself and take care of yourself in a way that allows you a modicum of self-respect, right?
Yeah.
Then you can theoretically, based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, begin to move up and have more, abstract connections with yourself and your environment. Therefore, you can, spend time with people and relationships and emotions and, all those things. So, getting the basics and the fundamentals down with your career, the job coach, school, that sounds very solid to me,
Yeah.
And I know that all work and no play is pretty boring, but, I tell you, we're in Pluto and Capricorn now. And if we don't, there are no more free lunches with Pluto and Capricorn. We got to work. We've got to work our ass off, unfortunately. Yeah. But so it's the time to do that. When's your birthday?
October 18, 89.
Okay, let's do just a quick perusal here.
But I did forgot to mention my job coach. She mentioned to me that, I applied 3 months ago with this place, and they told her that they're actually interested in interviewing me, but they're not sure when.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at your chart, and I tell you right now, Pluto is sitting right on top of your natal Capricorn, or natal Saturn, and that's a very big deal. Whenever Pluto transits over any planet, it's significant. When it transits over Saturn, it's really significant because Pluto will never cross over Saturn again in your lifetime. So you have the opportunity now to make deep and profound changes in your life. And Pluto will be on your Saturn and kind of back and forth across it throughout most of 2012. So 2012 for you is really a very profound time for making deep and long-standing change in your life. It's a way for you to really focus in on and get into that career path, or have a connection to a career that is important, meaningful, and transformational in your life. So
I won't even finish the school till July.
Very powerful time. But I'll tell you what, though. When Pluto hits Saturn, there's generally, I hate to say this, but some kind of a sacrifice involved, right? And the sacrifice would be giving up maybe a party or lifestyle, like staying up late, or partying, or drinking, or TV, because Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn, it all demands commitment. And
I think it's my computer habit.
Well, that could be part of it. You've also got Neptune, and you have a Neptune-Saturn conjunction in your chart, so Pluto's crossing your Neptune as well. That's super, super intense. It's very intense. So one of the things that you want to do with a Pluto-Neptune crossing is you really want to be very clear about your thoughts. You want to be clear about what you want. And the clearer you are about what you want, the easier it is for those changes to take place. Because we're talking about two, planetary titans here. Pluto on Neptune. These are deep, profound, very transformational energies. And again, they're transgenerational energies. So people that are born right around the same time you are also experiencing the same thing. It's like your generation theoretically should be waking up to the potential and power that you have as a generation, but it should trickle down to you also as a person as well. You've got Pluto and Scorpio. You're part of the Pluto and Scorpio generation, which I talked about earlier. So 2012 is a really good year, but it's a year for you to get very serious about your life, your energy, your business. Why you're here. It's a good year.
Kind of serious so far.
It's a very good year for that. Don't sleep on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see relationship coming around the corner? I mean, I'm not asking when, but,
Well, one of the things that you'll have in 2012 is you'll have an opposition between Jupiter and Venus in your chart. Okay. You have Venus and Sagittarius. I would say that more than anything, you'll have plenty of opportunities, maybe too many opportunities to have in 2012. I'm serious about that. I don't think 2012 is about relationship, my friend. It's about focus It's about making significant life changes, because you don't want, once Pluto moves across your Saturn, that's kind of it, man. It's like you're going to get what you got for a while, until you get into your Saturn return, which is very, very different. So, I would say make hay while the sun shines, really.
So you don't think this year is not much of a relationship, kind of?
I would not spend time on a relationship this year. I mean, here's what you'll have. You'll have the opportunity to play around. I seriously, I mean, Jupiter opposing Venus, you'll have plenty of opportunities to play around. But if you don't focus on your life, if you don't take advantage of the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, the Pluto-Neptune conjunction, you're going to miss out on a lot. I mean, I would, if you were a computer program, or if you were a computer, what I would do is I would uninstall the relationship program for at least a year. I'm serious. And I would install the getting, up to speed with who you are and how you're going to, manifest your life between now and your Saturn return, which is very, very important for you.
So this has to be more like I have to be more focused on what I'm doing, like career and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. If you don't, you'll lose out on a huge opportunity.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Don't sleep on it. Don't tell yourself a fairy tale about relationships right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I mean, I don't mind dating, but I guess a serious relationship should be out of the picture for now, I guess.
Well, even I'll give you for instance. Let's say you decided you wanted to have a serious relationship. Mm-hmm. Pluto over your Saturn won't allow it. Something will come into your life and just knock it right out from under you. Because unless you're focusing on the ball, it's very Capricornian energy. This is a relentless energy. You either roll with it and get on top of the steamroller and drive it, or you get underneath it. That's your choice. And when I say steamroller, that's kind of the energy. It's slow, but it flattens everything out, right? And you can drive it, or you can be underneath it. That's Pluto. That's Pluto on your Saturn. That's Pluto on your Neptune.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much for that reading.
Sure. Give us a call back and give us an update when you get a chance on your career stuff. All right.
I will. And Happy New Year too.
Happy New Year to you. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, it's 11:13 here, and it's sunny California. Although I'm sure there's a few chemtrails floating around out there in the atmosphere. Let's see. Any housekeeping that I need to keep you apprised of? I'm working on a guest for my Friday show, and it is a secret guest, and if cross your fingers, because it might actually be a very fun guest if I can make this happen. Let me just check something here. No. Okay. I made the guest request yesterday. Yeah. Okay. We'll see. It's going to be a secret. Okay. It's 11:15. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am your host, Robert Phoenix. I'm going to play a piece of music. And I'm going to hang out in the chat room for a bit. And if you want to get a reading, call in 347-308-8995. 347-308-8995. If you haven't been to the YouTube page, please go there. You can archive a lot of shows on the YouTube page. There's tons of archives there. And you can listen to actually this show as well, which will wind up on the YouTube page probably later today or tomorrow, plus a bunch of other stuff. We just uploaded, I think, about four or five shows over the last day or so. You can hear my interview with Patricia Corey. and a lot of you are in the chat room with our friend Gloria, if she's still there. I did a show with Gloria O'Neill. Is Gloria still there? I think she might have left. Let me just see here. Yeah, she's still there. I did a show with Gloria pretty early on, and so you can actually hear Gloria and me talking about a lot of things, talking about scents and aromatherapy and sacred scents and a bunch of other stuff. She's wonderful. She's engaging, super bright woman. You can listen to that interview as well. So, yeah, go to YouTube, check it out, listen. My website, robertphoenix.com. You can get full readings and a bunch of other stuff also. So let me play a piece of music. Let me jump into the chat room for a minute and chat, and we'll go from there. Let's see what I want to play. I want to play stuff that that YouTube is not going to bust me for. Let's play a little shakuhachi music. This will be interesting. All right, last time I wanted to see if they could figure out if that was, because what YouTube does is YouTube has very sophisticated software that basically has millions of sonic fingerprints. And I think they're employing, Shazam. If you know what Shazam is an application that you can get on your iPhone. It's a free application, and if you hear a song, literally you can punch Shazam, hold up your phone, and Shazam will tell you who the singer and the album and the song, and if you want to purchase it. That's what Shazam does. And Shazam, what's really interesting is I actually I met with the makers of Shazam many years ago at a conference called PopCom in Cologne, Germany. And then I actually worked with Shazam to try to bring them into eMusic. When I was working at eMusic, I sat down again with the guy who created Shazam, and I was like begging my company to try to figure out a way to work with this guy, and it's become one of the most popular apps on the iPhone. I was ahead of my time. That's what I'm trying to share with you. I was ahead of my time. All right, so let's play some shakuhachi music and see if this gets through the gnomes at Google/YouTube. Wow. That went by fast, didn't it? This is in the chat room talking about movies and literature that would be endemic. Friends is definitely a Pluto and Libra TV show, absolutely. But I was actually looking for, something, teen lit, teen movie, Rumblefish. There was that the S.E. Hinton stuff, Rumblefish, The Outsiders, although that's not really relationship based. But those books were popular. I'm going to work on it. War of the Roses, absolutely, very much a Pluto in Libra expression, but not necessarily for the youth. It's funny, Michael Douglas is in a lot of archetypal movies. Falling Down, War of the Roses. Has anybody ever seen The Game, by the way, by Michael Douglas? Has anybody ever seen that? The Game? If you haven't seen The Game, find The Game and watch it. It's very, very interesting, insidious, and it's also a meditation on the Tower card in the Tarot. I don't want to spoil The Game. I don't want to spoil the movie, The Game, but keep in mind the Tower card if you watch the movie. You can get it on Netflix, by the way. I'm a huge Netflix advocate. Huge. Although I am going to say that I was pissed at Netflix on Christmas. I was pissed at Netflix. Why? Because the one movie that I wanted to show my kid at Christmas time, Netflix did not have. A Christmas Story. They did not have that movie. They did not have A Christmas Story. Unless you had the DVD Netflix, which I don't. All I have is the streaming version. So one of the things that I'll be doing probably in 2012 is I'll be incorporating Roku into, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat room. I'll be incorporating Roku into my life, which is a multimedia box that allows me to get Amazon on demand and stuff like that for the movies that I want to get that Netflix does not allow me to, quote unquote, get, theoretically. Although I have to say, one of the things that I've really gotten into with Netflix is I have found this one TV series from the 1950s that I'm watching almost from start to finish. It's called Have Gun Will Travel. And it stars Richard Boone as Paladin. And it's one of the coolest TV series of all time, I gotta say. And there's some interesting, weird stuff in there too. So the premise of Paladin, Richard Boone is a Gemini, by the way, if you want to keep this on the astrological tip. He's also related to Daniel Boone, Pat Boone, Randy Boone, the Boone family. He grew up in Southern California, and he is most well known for this character, Paladin. Dresses in all black, lives in a fancy hotel in San Francisco, has a manservant called Hey Boy, and is basically a have gun with, for hire. He's a gun for hire. He's a centurion in some ways. And he's always on the right side of things. He's always raising up the low and taking down the mighty. It's a great character, and there's a lot of great writing in the series. People like Gene Roddenberry have written for that show. Bruce Geller, who went on to be, I believe, I think Bruce Geller is Gwyneth Paltrow's dad, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure he is. No, maybe not. It is Bruce Paltrow. Anyway, Bruce Geller is he writes for it. He also directed that show Mannix, which I'm not hugely fond of. Sam Peckinpah directed episodes. And you can go back and you can see a lot famous actors before they were famous. People like James Coburn, Charles Bronson. So there's, you get to see these guys at very formative stages of their careers. It's fascinating to watch. Paladin is great. There was this one episode that I saw last night. It was these two guys who were mining for gold, and they were clinging to this idea that it was a mine that they found. There was a father and a son, and the guy was an old school Italian guy, and he was desperately hanging on to this dream of this gold mine. And there were these guys who were trying to snatch the mine from him and jump his claim. And Paladin just happens to come onto the scene as he's like riding by. And what happens is that there's a shot that's fired, and there is like this flash of smoke, and Paladin appears, out of the smoke, just as this guy has said that he would sell his soul to the devil in order for the mine to remain his and to get out of that jam. And almost as soon as he says that, Paladin appears. And Richard Boone is always dressed in black in the show, and he looks like a devil. So this guy thinks that Richard Boone is the devil. It's a fascinating episode. There was also this one episode where he went into a mining town that was run by. He went into this mining town, and adjacent to the mining town was a mine run by a woman. Her English brother went to help her mine, and Paladin took him out there, and there was a big hassle in the town with the Native Americans, and 9 times out of 10, Paladin's siding with the Native Americans, by the way, just to let you know. And things got resolved, but there's this one scene at the end where there were teepees in town, and I'm looking at the different symbols on the teepees, right? And I swear to God, somebody had actually painted a swastika on one of the teepees. It was like, I had to go back and watch. I had to actually go back and watch that episode like a couple times, just as or just bring the streaming video back so I could see that swastika on the teepee. Like somebody was fucking around. Let's put it that way. So I love Paladin. It's great show on Netflix. Don't always get to see what I want on the Netflix streaming, but I tell you, I've eliminated my cable bill, and I pay $7.99 a month, and I haven't looked back. Roku, by the way, is a box that interacts with your wireless broadband connection, and really allows you to get just about anything. Well, not about anything. You can get Netflix on Roku. You can get Amazon On Demand. You can get Hulu. You can get Pandora, all that stuff. You buy the box. You pay for the services. If you haven't checked out Roku and you want to get rid of your cable or your satellite network or bill, that may be a really good option for you. I mean, you could get Netflix and get the odd. Pandora's free, so you can listen to Pandora for free. You'll hear advertising, but you can listen to it for free. But let's say you wanted to get Netflix and you get the Amazon, Unbox, which allows you to get certain movies that you pay $3.99 for, $2.99 for, that you would supplement your Netflix experience with. You might wind up paying about, $20 a month for a bill that maybe is costing you upwards of $80 to $90 a month. That's going to be one of the big stories of 2012. We look at Uranus, and we look at, Uranus represents, Aquarius and telecommunications and multimedia, all that stuff. And Aries is, it's all about the individual. It's all about taking control. And I see people really taking control of media in 2012. One of the big firestorms around Uranus and Aries is going to be SOPA. If you don't know about SOPA, find out about it. SOPA. It is a bill that is being generated by the people in the music and the film industry because they are tired of quote unquote people pilfering their content. But if you go to my website, if you go to the YouTube page, my YouTube page, you'll see a video that we posted about SOPA, and really, it's classic entrapment. You know, what all of these multimedia companies have been doing for years is promoting file sharing. And clearly the video demonstrates it. And once they promote file sharing, now you've got all this content on your hard drive, which they, through their portals, whether it's CNET or C-SPAN or ESPN, have chosen to put on their websites. Oh yeah, I'll download that. I'll download that track. And now they're going to go after you for downloading that stuff. It's clearly entrapment. Google is not in favor of SOPA. Okay. I don't believe, who else is not in favor of SOPA? I don't believe Facebook is either. So it's like Facebook and Google squaring off against the media giants. The problem with SOPA is that you could be branded a criminal, which is not good. If you've got copyrighted material, and everybody's got copyrighted material. If you have a website or YouTube page, you got copyrighted material. You can be screwed. You know, like for instance, I've got past shows that have songs that are copywritten. Theoretically, I could be in big trouble for that. So this whole battle for the right to control content on the internet is going to be front and center. Taking back the power of the media, Uranus and Aries. Okay, nobody else is calling, and I don't think I'm going to spend a lot more time ranting and raving here. But so I'm going to end the show. I'm going to end the show. It's my show. I can do what I want, right? I can end it right now if I want to, and I want to. So I'm gonna sign off, and hopefully we'll have a guest on Friday. I'm working on a guest. If I don't get this guest on Friday, try to get him next Friday. I think he could be a very fun, very interesting, and enlightening guest. Maybe a little bit different from what I've had in the past, but Friday, keep your fingers crossed and see what happens. I want to wish everybody a new year. I want to thank everybody for listening, being a part of this show, the website, everything. I think we're knitting together a nice community. That's what it feels like to me. You know, what is the definition of community? It's when people get together and do things together over a consistent period of time. And that's how I see it. And, you know, there are people that are consistently coming to the show, to my website, and you've got your own interconnected relationships apart from how you connect or relate with me, you know, and there's a lot of, really cool exchanging going on of ideas, you know, some services. There's some neat things happening, and I'm thrilled to be a part of that. You know, whether I'm a catalyst for it or a conduit for it or whatever, I like the fact that it's happening. You know, it means a lot to me, especially since I've got 4 planets in my 11th house. So it's like it's home for me. This is my virtual community, and I want to thank everybody for being a part of it and making my life richer. And you know, 2012 is going to be an intense, exciting, challenging, dynamic year. There's no getting around it. Whether or not you believe the Mayan hype, whether or not you believe the megaspell hype, you know, whether or not you believe that this is all part of a mass ritual, you know, to enslave us and put us into a techno-fascist state, it's going to be game on. In fact, it's game on right now. So, you know, be on your toes, be alert, be alive, be thankful that you're here, no matter how it looks. All right, can't change the big script, but you can change the little script a day at a time. All right. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. You're you. And I'll see you on Friday. Take care.
We are living a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words, I submit that these impressions are valid and significant. And I will even say this, such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.